Tasha Hairston Springs. I'm so excited to talk to you about texting because I got to tell you, I'm old enough. I'm starting to miss the days of drunk drivers when you could see them swerving and they were trying to at least stay on the road versus texting today. And would you just begin by telling people a little bit about yourself and the wonderful mission you're on to make our roads safer?
Yes. My name is Tasha Hairston Springs. I am the founder of Mindfully Aware Driving Solutions. I created this business based off of my own texting habits. I was in a car crash in 2012. I was texting my daughter about her cell phone bill, and I crashed into an overpass, and then I hit another car, a separate vehicle with two passengers inside, and I hurt them. I hurt myself. We all ended up at the hospital all because of what I thought was a simple text message.
Yes, and it you turn this horrible tragedy into a mission of really educating people on how serious this is because I have to say I actually think this is worse than drunk drivers, because I grew up in a day, people are drunk usually were going a little slower, they were overly cautious, and you could go, oh, look, that person's drunk. Let's stay away from them. But
Right.
today, the texting people, it's like wide open. And I remember looking at a truck driver once, and I swear I saw Netflix sitting up on the prompt of his steering of an 18 wheeler,
hmm
and this is not this is a majorly serious problem that we have today. And talk about how you've responded to this tragedy and turning it into something to really make a difference in our society.
Yeah. Looking at the statistics, it's like 3,000 people a year are involved in some form of distracted driving crash. And distracted driving is not just texting and driving, it's also looking at Netflix, is also like streaming movies, is trying to change your radio station, putting on makeup, trying to groom yourself, all these different things that we do that we don't know consciously that we are driving dangerously. It could kill somebody or hurt ourselves. So with me being in the car crash I was in, I had to face my own demons with my phone, and I had an addiction to my phone. So I was always on my phone. I would order food, order clothes. I'll be doing all these things on my phone while I'm driving, not thinking that I would ever hurt anybody. And I had heard about texting and driving being dangerous, but addicted, the fear of missing out, you're going to grab your phone. So now I work with organizations who are focused on keeping their drivers safe, students safe, from texting and driving. I created a program based off of my own bad habit. It's a 21-day meditation, not meditation, mindfulness program that I use to break my own habit. It took me over 9 months to break my habit. I turned my phone off, but I knew I had to do something, and I had to come out and let people know, like, this is dangerous. If it happened to me, it can happen to you. I'm not special. I do it's a lot of people. Like you said, you've seen truck drivers, and that's the worst, to be in a truck, a 18,000 pound vehicle, and you hit somebody. More than likely, you're going to kill them or severely damage somebody. So it's very important that I get my message out to let people know, like, hey, it can happen to you.
Yeah, and I want to bring up this point of addiction because we think of addictions as, drug addictions, alcohol addictions. Of course, I'm battling a carbohydrate addiction, so and I remember even my doctor saying that like with carbohydrates, you need to understand the way it attacks your brain and sugars is just like a narcotic. And you're saying that this is the same thing with our addiction to looking at our phone. Talk about that more because I don't know that people think of it, but once you think about it, it's like, how many times you go, I need to see what's going on in my phone. And we really do get that little dopamine hit from doing it. And this is, I think, an angle that's so important to realize, okay, first you have to recognize you're addicted. And probably the test is see if you can go somewhere and not open your phone, right? See how well
Right.
you do for an hour, right?
Right. So with the dopamine, like you said, it is a dopamine hit, and the fear of missing out. And now we have instant gratification now. So all of this is addictive, like gambling is almost the same thing. And that dopamine hit, as soon as you hear that notification, is like Pavlov and the dogs. You hear the bell ring, the dogs start to slob or whatever, and they know their food is coming. So it's the same thing with us. We hear that notification, we're not slobbing, but we have that excitement, like, well, who is it, what do they want, did I order something, is my order from Amazon here yet, did my food come over outside? So it's like you want to know, is somebody hurt? And we just have that, it's just that addiction that we have to feed ourselves, that instant gratification is, God, we want it here, now, yesterday. So it's like we have to learn how to be mindful when we're in our car. It's okay, you at home, you can answer your phone, text, watch all the movies you want to. But when you're in your car, you have to be responsible for your neighbor. Love thy neighbor, respect thy neighbor. These people in the cars beside us are our neighbors. So we have to respect them. Our addictions, we got to push them to the side. And that's where my program does come in. It's 21 days. You know, it takes at least 21 days to start to break a habit. It takes about 180 to actually change that bad habit into a good habit. So with my program, that's what it is. It's like you start off with turning the notifications off on your phone. Like how many people can do that for real?
Hmm.
And sit there and you don't hear your phone and you don't know what's going on and you start getting nervous. These are things that have been documented in research. People get anxious and nervous, and the younger that they are, the younger generation, is like part of their bodies now. I read a research paper where teenagers, they would rather lose their hand than their phone.
Wow.
It's like a appendage now. It's like part of their body that they have to have with them. They cannot, they'll lose their job. They'll go back home to get their phone. Like you already got all these points against you at work. You know, if you late one more day, you're going to get fired. They will risk losing their job to go back home to get their phone. So it's very serious. It is an addiction.
I have a nice park near my house and I like to go bicycling. And I do have a phone on it because it's an electric bike. So for the hills when I need, I can turn it on. But I really notice how there's a little part of me that goes, oh, I could, listen to a podcast or something and go, what am I doing? I'm in beautiful nature.
Yes.
And it's funny. And so my mission is always make sure it's off and just enjoy nature. And it's amazing. I've done that for a while, but even though I've done this for a while, that creep wanting to go back is like always there. And I think that's like an addiction. What I understand from people who talk about addiction is there's the want to leave the door open just a little bit. And the fact is it doesn't work. It's just like people I've known who have really battled like alcoholism. There's no moment they can have a beer, because then once they open the door, it goes down. And so this is almost tougher than that because it's like the alcoholic that can drink beer at home, but not out in public, So I can see this possibly as even more difficult to deal with. Seeing people in these parks walking around and growing up in Washington, D.C., the best way to get robbed is to look like a distracted human being with no
Right.
purpose. And that's what you're doing when you're looking at the phone. So I
Hmm.
learned, I have to tell you, growing up in DC, I really didn't know how to fight. And so, but I learned how to use my mind. And I learned when I walked with intention that
Yes.
people didn't mess with me. Well,
Yes.
wandering around like this is what I call a victim status, a victim appearance. And criminals track onto that. It's an intuitive thing that I learned growing up in DC that if you look like distracted, you kind of draw crime towards you. So I think it's not just an issue driving. I think it can be
Right.
dangerous walking around. I mean, if I helped with a self-defense class in the martial art Aikido, and this was like 20 years ago, teaching women is have a direction and go with purpose. Don't wander around. Don't look like you're looking at your keys. We had no cell phones. This is the best deterrent for crime. And I just realized this distracted lifestyle probably is a good way to attract crime as well.
Correct. And what you mentioning that and being at the park, could you imagine? I could see a parent not telling the truth, but could you imagine at the park with your child and all these human traffickers, and you looking at your phone so much, and you look up and you can't find your child because it was somebody waiting at that park for a parent just like you to be looking down, and they take your child. So that distraction, like you just said, yes, is serious on all levels with
Yeah,
the phone.
this is such an important piece. Would you talk a little bit about the process of discovering this process? Because you basically, it's heal thyself. You
Yes.
had the accident. It was a great tragedy. Then you had to, I'm sure, go through grieving and everything else because you realized you harmed somebody and you shared that.
Yes.
And you have, I know you enough to know you have a strong ethics and values, and this really had a profound effect. And you go, okay, what am I going to do next? And then this plan. Talk about how you developed your process of the mindfulness that you already proved has helped you.
Well, being in the hospital with dealing with the grief and the remorse, and I already meditated and prayed a lot. So I do meditate more than I pray, but I do pray. So in the hospital, I was meditating and I was praying and asking God for forgiveness. I asked the people that I crashed into for forgiveness. Then I had to forgive myself. So doing the meditation, getting home, going through all the pain, I was like, I have to tell people what I did, and now I have to break this habit. So it took a while for me to actually get it into a plan. I got out of the hospital in 2012. I didn't start doing the deep meditation stuff until about 2015. So I took 9 months. I took my phone, I turned it off, and I got a house phone. This is how I created the program. I got a house phone, and that was it. I was like, don't tell, you can't text me, you can't do anything. When I get online, I'm on a computer, a laptop. So I broke the habit of always hearing my phone go off and picking it up. So I was like, well, if I could do it, how can I make it shorter for other people? Because I know everybody's not going to turn their phone off for 9 months. So it has to be you wanting to stop, just like an alcoholic. First, you have to admit to yourself that you have the problem. Then I have a quiz that I give people where you do this quiz, and that helps you bring your self awareness to how much you use your phone. So hopefully that'll touch your heart after you do the quiz, and you're like, okay, I need to do something about this. So the meditation, I meditate in the morning before I wake up and at night before I go to sleep, and I set my intentions to not mess with my phone while I'm driving. I get in my car, I set everything. Anything that I need to do, I put it, the music, everything, I set it. Just like before when you learn how to drive, you fix your mirrors, you do all that stuff. Do the same thing for your phone. So it's a thing that you have to intentionally want to do. And it's a process of doing it every day for 21 days. After that 21 day, the 21st day, now it's in your head, it's sticking there. Now you're seeing like, okay, well, I need to pull over now. So you're starting to teach yourself how to self regulate. Pull over now, use the phone over here, or use the phone when I get where I'm going. Turn my notifications off. I don't need it right now. It's not that important. Like if somebody's dying, you can't stop them from dying, and then you might die yourself trying to answer that phone call. Pull over. So it's basically self-awareness, self-regulation. um in that like I said, in 21 days, that starts the process of breaking the habit. In that 9 months, I completely broke the habit. I stopped wanting my phone, period. So it's just a matter of you loving yourself, pretty much, and knowing that, okay, yesterday I swerved and almost hit a mailbox. The other day, I almost hit this kid. Is you and your mindset. It's a mindset thing. You have to change it. So that was the process of me going through the grief and the remorse and creating this program, hoping that if it worked for me, it can work for anybody. And then we meditate. We don't even know we're meditating or being mindful. You can mindfully walk. You can mindfully eat. You can breathing exercises. I use a lot of breathing exercises also. So it's just is you. You have to realize what you're doing, and it can hurt you. If you love yourself, stop.
I want to talk about the other benefits that you got from this because I've been meditating for years, and a good friend one time said the human condition is like every time I meditate, my life improves. That's why I stopped. Because it's kind of like we are always drawn back to the dark side or something, and we have to battle it going forward. But it's one of those, if I have a break where I'm not meditating for a while, just so many little things that tend to flow aren't flowing as well. It's hard to describe, but it's really like a richer quality of life that occurs. It's like going around the park, and it's a park I've been maybe 1,000 times, but I can always find something new. I can always enjoy something new. The sunset, and it really feeds me. And if I were distracted, I'd miss that. So
Right.
I'd like you to talk a little bit about the added value, not just giving up the phone, but it's such you're missing out on so much of life when you have a strong addiction that you aren't aware of pulling a large part of your attention.
Yeah, so being in the present moment, we take for granted the present moment. You can't go back into the past, it doesn't exist anymore. You can't go into the future, is it hasn't been created. We only have this moment. And in this moment are we got our five senses, the smell, your sight, five senses. I can't remember all of them right now. But those are the things that we need to enjoy right now. Your life, it enriches your life. Can you imagine, okay, being somewhere like a graduation, the whole time you're taking pictures with your phone and you're putting it live on Facebook? You just missed the whole graduation. Like for real, you just missed the whole live graduation. Then you go back and look at the pictures and you don't remember certain things because you were on your phone while everybody else was over here doing this. You're over here recording this. So you wasn't in the present moment. And really, for real, you weren't there. You were on Facebook. You wasn't there with your family. So, like you just said, in the park, you go in the park, you smell the air. You feel the wind blow. You see the different colors of the leaves. All this stuff is mindfulness, and it's also focus. You're building your focus, your concentration, your you being able to regulate your emotions. That's what meditation does. And then for people that say, well, I can't meditate, I keep thinking of all this stuff. Okay, well, that moment that you realize that you faded out and you started thinking about other stuff, that's your mindful moment. You just brought yourself back. That is what mindfulness is. That's what meditation is. You sitting there and you're like, what am I going to eat? Oh, let me stop thinking about what I'm eating. Let me think about my breath. Take a deep breath. Okay, that's mindfulness. You just brought yourself back to the present moment. That's it. We're not going to ever stop thinking. We're thinking machines. But once you realize that you're thinking and you're thinking about something that you're not supposed to be thinking about and you bring yourself back, you just mindful. You just mindfully did something. So you did the meditation and you walk and you're breathing and you're focused on your dog. And then you start thinking about something else. But then you focus back on your dog. You got your focus back. Now you're mindfully aware of I'm walking my dog. I'm spending time on my dog. He just pooped over here. Let me pick it up. So now you're being mindful of what you're doing. So it's just the matter of being in the present moment, loving yourself right now, loving the event right now, being in the park and loving the park right now. Not what you getting ready to do tomorrow or what you did yesterday, but right now. What does it smell like outside right now? So it's focus and concentration is helping our brains grow.
There are many aspects of what you said I want to break down. One is the whole idea of being in the present moment and not even knowing you're not here. There's something that had a very big impact on me, and I'm not pronouncing it quite right. Gurdjieff and Ouspensky's work, and their idea is that we're not even awake. We're in a sleep state most of our lives, and the way to start waking up is first just notice the presence and how hard it is. And then the second aspect is people think that meditation is some divine emptying your mind. And I've done what are called 10-day noble sits. And I've really learned that, that emptying your mind, that's after 45 years of practice, so it's really you just starting to witness your automatic system going that's constantly making noise, and that witnessing gives you a certain kind of objective observation of it. So I think it's what you said so important is what I learned is meditation's not about quieting your mind. It's about going, oh, I've got to get the groceries, let go. I've got to, is the door locked, let go. It's that taking a moment and just letting go and witnessing your process of breathing, of existing, of being. And then it's okay if you can only do it 3 minutes at the beginning, and that's a long time for a lot of human beings. But the payoff's amazing when it's done on a regular basis. It really is impressive. Yeah. And that gives you a competitive advantage in all the aspects of life. You can learn faster, you can learn more, you can adapt to things more, you can handle stress more. So many of us have gotten so obsessed with just that dopamine hit, we just can't handle normal stress that occurs in life. So I think there's so many aspects of a process like this that you're talking about that has more payoffs than just getting a break from the phone. And this all came from a tragedy that happened, and you're making the best of it. So I think all those things are important. It's okay to just start. Could you give one or two tips for someone just starting to meditate? Just begin, and then I'll make sure to also put the links to your course and training below. But where can they just begin?
To just begin, just one of the best things that I can say, especially about people with attention spans, I also have where I can use a candle. So you light the candle and you just sit and look at the candle. Watch the flame and just sit, smell the smell. If you start to wander off, come back to the smell of the candle, come back to the flame and just sit and look patiently. If you can only do it for 2 minutes, just do it for 2 minutes. If you don't want to do the candle thing, just sit by yourself. You can sit Indian style, you can lay down if you're not sleepy because you might go to sleep. But just sit and breathe. Listen to your breath. Listen to your deep breath and just maybe a minute or two. Just listen to yourself breathe. Close your eyes and just listen. If you can do that for 1 minute, good. Maybe eventually you can get to 2 minutes, 3 minutes, but just sit and breathe with yourself. If you start to think about something else, no, let me listen to my breath. How does it sound? How does it feel? Feel the breath go in, breathe it out, and just sit with yourself.
I think that's it. And I think a key thing on this is different than concentration because it's more like on concentration, I'm holding myself rigid on one thing. While in meditation, it's more like it's like sort of a soft hold of my attention. So then when it goes off, I go, oh, it's off here. Let's bring it back.
Yeah, that's why I said use the candle because it is something sitting there and it's like I'm supposed to be paying attention to this candle right now and I'm not. Let me come back to the candle.
Yeah. And I think that's key. It's the witness that you're off and come back. Witness that you're off and come back. Witness that you're not and come back. Witness and that's really the I think the beginning of it. And I also agree it's probably good to sit up. You don't have to be in some fancy pose, but
No.
from what I've learned is upright is very important. It seems to be good with the, comfortable upright position for doing it. And like you said, if you lie down, most of us are sleep deprived from adrenaline exhaustion. So we'll probably just go to sleep. but I
Right.
think that's a very good start as well. And then other things you're working on is in working with the legislation too, so that
Yeah.
we make sure that we probably need to put some teeth in the legislation as well. I mean, I know of a good friend that was a printer, and he was in one of my referral groups, and he drove a Harley, and from what I understand, someone who was distracted hit him, and he's dead now. And so we're all hearing more of these stories of tragedies that happen, and this is something that we really have to pay attention, and it's something we can control. It's not as it has a quality like a chemical addiction, but it's not the same as addicted to a major
Right.
narcotic. So it's something we can do that gives value to our lives. So talk about some of your work with changing the legislation and speaking to different groups on that.
Okay, the legislation, the Hands Free Act, Hands Free NC, is where they're not saying that you can't use your phone, but it has to be on the phone mount, or you have to use your voice commands or your Bluetooth. So you can still, and your GPS, you can still use your GPS, but you can't have it in your hand. You can't have it in your lap. It has to be mounted on something. So with the intention of this law is to keep people from running into each other or running over each other because we're not paying attention. They're not trying to tell us what to do. They're trying to keep us safe from each other, because without this law and without the education, people don't know how serious and important it is. So it's like it must be a law put on the books that has teeth, so people can understand how important it is, because there's a lot of selfish people out there, because I was one of them. So with this law, just like with the seatbelt law, as soon as the seatbelt laws went into play, less people started dying. We got the speed limit, less people are starting to die. The drinking and driving, less people starting to die. The pull over, what is it, move over law right now that we have. You have to move over. It's less police officers and people dying, getting killed because of people on their phones. So this law is going to be put into place for us to protect each other, to keep the love thy neighbor. It's kind of like making us love our neighbors. But who wants to wake up like me every day? Because I think about the people every day. Who wants to wake up every day and know that you almost killed somebody? Who wants to wake up every day and look at themselves like my ear is gone, part of my face is gone? I have to wake up and look at myself every day because it was a law. Texting is banned. Guess what? I did it anyway. So these laws are put in place for us to protect ourselves and each other. So, and then I have met so many families whose children have died because of texting and driving. Nobody wants to get that knock on the door from the state trooper at 2 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm sorry, but your child is not no longer with us. Nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to hear their husband is gone. Nobody wants to hear that their mother is gone because somebody was on their phone and there's no law. Now this person is gone and nobody's being held accountable.
Yeah,
And the person
yeah.
is gone now.
The person who hit my friend, as far as I know, nothing happened. And he's dead, and that seemed like a criminal act to me. Now I don't know all the
Murder.
details,
Like
but
murder.
yeah. But this is so important. And I just want to say one of the things that I admire so much about you is when you came to the class, you had this beautiful hairdo, but you deliberately, I asked you about it, did it so that it showed the ear that was damaged. And I thought it's hard to express the courage I felt and drawn towards you to go, because it was a great, just of a position, because you look terrific, the hair looked great, and then you notice something, that you weren't hiding from, and I see that as the beacon of your courage in this mission, and why it's so important that people like you keep going. and inspire other courage in people. So, would you tell people how they can help you, how they can contribute to you? Because you're a champion out there making the roads and places safer for all of us, and how they might be able to reach out and assist you.
My the best way to get in touch with me is my email address, Tasha at Mindfully Aware Driving Solutions. My number, which my business number, 336-865-4222. Those are the best ways to, especially email. Email, I respond quickly. Text messages, I also respond quickly.
But
Phone
not when
calls,
you're driving.
no, definitely not when I'm driving. I don't even
Yeah,
have my notifications on ever,
yeah,
except for like now I have a problem with some people in my family, so I've turned my phone on because
yeah,
I need to
right,
know something.
right.
But most of the time, I don't even have notifications on my phone. So, um, emails, text message, and yeah, email and text message. And I'll give you my so you can put my website. But the best way, like I said, is my email, Tasha at Mindfully Aware Driving Solutions.
Excellent. And then I'll put your LinkedIn there too, because you're on LinkedIn as
Yes.
well. Excellent. This is so great. I knew it'd be a terrific interview when we first met. It was so terrific. I really enjoyed having you in my digital marketing class. That was a lot of fun. Did you enjoy that?
Oh yeah, I enjoyed it. I have it on my wall.
Oh,
I
your
have my
certificate. That's
certificate. Yeah.
great. Right. Well, we're still adding to that and offering it in other places. So that was the first launch of it in Winston Salem. So I want to give a shout out to the Small Business Center there that
Whoop,
made it all
whoop.
possible. Yeah, they're terrific. So I'll put their link as well. That's a great resource for small businesses. Well,
Yes,
you
it is.
take care and let's stay in touch. And I thanks for taking this time that we can let other people know about the wonderful work you're doing.
Thank you. I will see you soon.
Yes, sounds great. Take care.
All right, take care. Stay safe.